Sarah, who lives in a rural village in Michigan, was left alone after her family went to the city for the holidays. The silence in the village was like an escape full of calm and peace for him. But the silence held a terrible secret. The first night, Sarah was having a quiet evening, but after a while, he began to hear strange sounds from outside. These events, which started with oddities, progressed into the house. Clicks and footsteps began to surround the house. On the second night, Sarah saw the shadows of strange figures on the walls in her room. The figures were rapidly disappearing and reappearing. When he entered his room, however, silence had returned. His dreams were also scary and complicated. On the third night, Sarah decided to investigate strange noises inside the house. He found a passage, and the passage led to an old cellar. There were walls in the cellar full of strange symbols. He tried to decipher the meaning of the symbols. On the fourth night, deep in the cellar, Sarah found an old diary. The diary was giving information about the lives and strange rituals of the previous owners of the house. Sarah wanted to solve the secrets of the past. On the fifth night, Sarah followed the clues of the diary and performed the old rituals. But these rituals released strange beings who lived in the house. The beings followed him and left strange symbols inside the house. Eventually, Sarah managed to unravel the secrets of the former owners and imprison the strange beings back in the cellar. But this terrible experience at home would stay with him. The quiet village of Michigan had now turned into a new beginning for him, but the terrible evenings he lived at home remained a memory that he would never forget. Emily, who lived in a remote town in Kansas, was leading a quiet life. One night, however, he noticed that the silence had been terribly broken. The first night, Emily was having a quiet evening, but slowly he began to hear strange noises inside the house. Clicks and whispers filled the room. When he went to his room, however, all was quiet. On the second night, Emily began to have strange dreams. In his dreams, strange figures were following him, and he was trying to escape from something. When he woke up, he heard those strange sounds again. This time, however, the sounds were coming from outside her room. On the third night, Emily, her dreams were even more complicated. Scary figures were chasing him in his dreams, and he was trying to escape from something. When he woke up and jumped out of bed, he noticed that there was a strange light source inside the house. When he went towards the light, he encountered a terrible sight. The room was covered with strange symbols, and the light source was in the middle of these symbols. There was a presence here, an invisible force that seemed to have taken over the interior of the house. At that moment, the shadow of a figure appeared and quickly approached. Emily ran out of the room and ran outside the house, but outside, too, silence reigned. The neighbors' lights were not on. The street was quiet. In a panic, he ran towards the town for a while, but the terrible silence brought him back to the house. When he turned into the house, the figure was still there, but now it was closer. Emily understood that that figure was a being that lived in the darkness. The figure was trying to remind him of a secret from the past, but this secret would reveal a terrible truth. Finally, Emily bravely faced the figure and learned the dark secrets of the past. The dark being who lived inside the house served as a protector who protected those secrets. However, Emily decided to reveal these secrets and came to an agreement with the dark entity. When the secrets of the house were revealed, the silence was broken and the dark presence left the house. Emily agreed to live alone in this quiet house now, but the silence had become a peaceful silence, no longer terrible. The past of the house was with him now, but this time it was full of peace. I was excited to return to my old home again after many years. The exterior of the house was the same, but inside it was now filled with silence. I had planned to spend the night here by myself. The history and silence of the house have always attracted me. When I entered the house, my first task was to remove from its cover an old mirror that stood in the middle of the room. The mirror was accompanied by a note telling the story of the family who lived here many years ago. The note claimed that the family had experienced many tragedies and that the house was under some kind of curse. I studied my reflected image in the mirror, but after a while a strange shadow appeared on the surface of the mirror. The shadow seemed to be calling me and began to dance on the surface of the mirror. The shadow seemed to fascinate me. The shadow pulled me towards him, and suddenly, I walked into the mirror. It was like I wasn't at home anymore. I was in another dimension. There were strange symbols everywhere. They seemed to be engraved on the walls. The figure standing in the corner of the room was inviting me to learn the meaning of these symbols. As I began to decipher the meaning of the symbols, I began to understand the true origin of the curse. The previous owners of the house had practiced strange rituals and spells. The family story also included strange beings living inside the house. The revelation of the symbols released strange beings. The mysterious shadow in the house seemed to be the master of these beings. But I didn't want to stay in this world too long for them. Using the symbols, I managed to trap the strange beings back into the house. The shadows came back and they pushed me into the mirror. Suddenly, I was at home and the silence had returned. From that moment on, I lived alone in this quiet house every night. The silence and the history of the house were still with me, but there were no longer ghosts of strange beings. The mysteries and silence inside the house continued to live with me, like parts of a charmed world.